January 8th, January 8th, 2024, Planning and Zoning Commission.
2025.
Oh my gosh. I'm just going to start all the way over.
Okay.
Welcome to the January 8th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. A meeting was held at 6 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall for clarification of the agenda. The following is the official agenda of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Discussion and commission action will be limited to those items on the agenda. Any citizen who wishes to address the commission shall first be recognized by the chair and shall give his or her name for the record. If a citizen wishes to read documentation of any sort to the commission, he or she shall first seek permission from the chair. There is a 3-minute time limit for public testimony to the commission. Aislinn, will you call roll?
Benjamin Gomez,
Here, nothing to report.
Marjana Hewlett,
Present, I did site visits to agenda item 3 and 4.
Annie Mendoza,
Here, nothing to report.
Phillips,
Here with nothing to report.
and Israel Valdez.
Present and nothing to report.
Thanks, Aislinn. There's a note here that I ask everyone at this point in the meeting to please silent their cell phones. The commission may wish to approve the minutes from the clarification and regular meetings held, I believe, at December 11th, 2024. Is there any discussion by the commission on the December 11th, 2024 meeting minutes? With no further discussion, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes for the December 11th clarification, 2024 clarification meeting and regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting as presented.
I second that motion.
I have a motion made by Hewlett and a second by
Gomez.
Gomez. Aislinn, will you call vote?
Hewlett,
Yes.
Gomez,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Valdez.
Yes.
Great. I will now explain the public hearing process and procedures. The application presentation is limited to 10 minutes. There is a 3-minute limit on public testimony. Those presenting or testifying will state your name for the record. While giving testimony, questions and comments should be pertinent to the application and should be addressed only to the commission. During the public hearing, there should be no questions, comments, or applause from the audience. Should the meeting go longer than 8 p.m., the commission may take a scheduled 10-minute break. Commission members must make their decision regarding the application on facts already in the record and information presented during the public hearing. Protocol requires the commission member and audience be recognized by the commission chair prior to speaking. With that, we will begin agenda item number 3, which is the time has been set aside for the commission to hear comments from the public regarding a map amendment nope, I'm looking at the wrong one.
Nope.
Let me go
Planned
one-
unit development.
There we go. Apologies. David Assen of Sunrise Engineering, on behalf of Gate City Builders, has submitted an application for a planned unit development. The property is located at 2605 South Fifth Avenue and consists of 4 parcels encompassing 5.56 acres. The subject property is zoned residential commercial professional with a future land use map designation of mixed use. The request is to allow for lot size averaging to construct 8 multifamily structures on individual lots, with Lot 9 proposed to be a common lot for stormwater retention, recreational area, and parking. With that, we would invite the application to come to the podium. I think I have to open the public hearing first. So I declare the public hearing open and would like to invite the applicant to come to the podium.
TJ Togia with Sunrise Engineering. So yeah, we have the PUD for the subject property located off of Fifth. The cemetery. The property is 5.5 acres in size. The project will have 9 lots and construct 8 multifamily structures on individual lots. And the reason for the PUD is to get that lot average. And that ninth lot, as said, would be a common lot with the stormwater retention and recreational area and parking. Sewer and water will come off of Fifth Avenue. And yeah, we've been working with the planning department to meet the municipal code, and we're just seeking your approval. Thank you.
Great, thanks, TJ.
Any questions?
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
No.
Can we get your name one more time?
TJ Togiai,
TJ Togiai.
Togiai,
I-K-I.
Togiai.
Any questions? Okay, thanks. We might call you back up. Thanks, TJ. We'll now have a presentation by staff.
GIA.
Get my glasses here. I don't know which. Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commission members. Matthew Lewis, Senior Planner with the city. As noted, the item before you is a request for a planning and development. The property, again, is located at 2806 South Fifth Avenue, encompasses and consists of 4 parcels, encompassing 5.56 acres more or less. The subject property is zoned residential, commercial, professional. The request is to allow for lot size averaging to construct 18 multifamily structures on individual lots, with lot 9 proposed to be a common lot for stormwater retention, recreation area, and parking. The minimum off-street parking required by code is 192, with a total of 259 spaces being proposed. Per municipal code section 1702.140 D4, a minimum of 20% of the net land area involved in the development shall be set aside for open space or amenities. As such, a minimum of 48,436 square feet shall be dedicated as open space, and the applicant is proposing 86,348 square feet, more or less, which includes all landscape areas between lots and the private recreation areas associated with Lot 9. Please note that the calculation does not include the parking and circulation area. Municipal Code Section 1702.140 G1 states that lot size averaging may be used provided that overall density does not exceed the maximum number of dwelling units per acre allowed by the underlying zoning district. Staff finds that the overall density does not exceed the maximum number of dwelling units permitted in the underlying RCP district. Primary ingress egress is via South Fifth Avenue. Staff is recommending, and this is kind of the layout of the PUD, so you can just see with the structures and so forth, kind of hard to see, but it gives you a general layout of it with the parking in the middle, structures on the perimeter. Staff is recommending, here's a better one. Staff is recommending that a 8-foot wide planter strip be provided between the curb and 8-foot wide sidewalk with a 10-foot landscape setback provided on the east side of the sidewalk as required by municipal code. In addition, one tree, a minimum 1.5 inches in caliper, shall be provided for every 35 feet of street frontage in both landscape areas. Such planting shall be staggered, a minimum of 10 feet between trees within the landscape areas. And this is a kind of a cross section of what we envisioned. So there's some other things that we're working on in the South Fifth area through my colleagues with Brownsfield. This is kind of how we see that connection, at least between Barton and Swisher Road, So this provides overall, as development occurs, that it'll provide more of a pedestrian oriented, on that, at least on that side. If you go across the street on South Fifth and South Fourth, if you're not familiar with it, there's a kind of a multi-use path that goes all the way through Ross Park, all the way up to the parking lot that goes to the Kirkham Trail, that goes to South Valley Road. And then that interconnects in all the way down to Edson Fichter Park. So you can go on that path, go to the intersection of Frederickville, Barton Road, that interconnects in with that. You can interconnect in with, into the cemetery, which goes to Red Hill, and so forth, that eventually goes to the university. So there really is some pretty good connectivity in this area, in staff's opinion. On the east side, as would be the beginning of that cross section. This is a good place to start that. We can't do anything with all the properties in between, but we can on this one. All property owners within a 300-foot radius of the existing properties have been provided notice of the public hearing in order that they may provide comment on the proposed request. Notice was also published in the Idaho State Journal and a sign posted on the subject property. No public comment has been received as of completion of the staff report. Utility providers and affected city departments will provide notice on 12/5/2024. No comments have been received from utility providers and affected city departments with the exception of the Public Works Memorandum. This concludes my presentation. Myself and Merrill will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Any questions for Matt?
I have a question. I do have a question. In your staff review, under the, page 4 of 7, in there it says that Public Works and traffic personnel are requiring that the approach be moved to the north to line up with Garden Street to the west. Is that a change? Should that be listed in the conditions?
No.
Because it's not.
Actually, I'll have Merrill. Merrill says he'll answer. Go ahead and answer.
Okay.
So lining that road up, we believe that it is already lined up to the point, but what we're asking for through the Public Works memo that's in this, and then into the staff report, is that we make sure that that driveway is lined up with Garden Road so that there's no weaving around. So we've asked them, they're gonna expand their layout and verify that it is lined up so that we do not have traffic weaving from down Fifth or there. It's a straight across.
I understand why you would want to have that done, and I totally agree with that. It just says that this is a change. This results in the apartment building to be relocated. I'm wondering why
Oh, that's one of the
this
reasons. Okay.
isn't in the conditions.
This is a PUD.
Yes.
So those conditions should line up in the preliminary plat. So that's the difference between the two.
I understand. This is in your staff report for the PUD.
It is, and then we'll have that discussion later because that's what, it doesn't show up in there. There's some, there's
Some magic
There's
in
some
there.
magic that must have happened because my memo's not in the plating one, it's in the PUD and so forth. But
Oh,
we
okay.
we'll
Okay.
get that figured out there. But that's the reasoning for it, that is in the plating portion.
Okay.
With the land and all that and the engineering standards there versus
Okay.
the PUD.
So it just kind of is not in the right place here.
That's why it's
Okay.
there. It should show up in the conditions in the
In the
plat.
actual plat. Okay.
Yes.
The second question I have is, I hear this referencing to long-term plans for that South Fifth area. So in general, how does this fit into that? What are those long-term plans and what is this?
Some of them long-term plans, as we were talking, Matt had brought up about the connectivity and so forth. with the plan there that he's got still up there. We've got some wider sidewalks that we're planning down along there
Okay.
along Fifth. And again, as it goes in and then the connectivity, he talked about how it goes into Red Hill and the pathway into ISU. If you've been watching lately, what's happening too is with the interstate up by the event center, they are putting in a pathway in gravel that will have to be funded and paved later. But all the way, we will have connectivity and a pathway from ISU within the next year and a half that will go all the way, minus a little portion through the hospital, section of the hospital, all the way from South Valley Road. You'll make your way out Red Hill, out through the university, up to Terry, and then MLK to Terry, then across the pathways, and I don't remember the names, but it goes there, through around the hospital and some sidewalks after their pathway. Then it'll drop down. You'll go there to Center Street. You can go up by the farm, down up Vista a little bit to Farm Bureau. Get on that pathway. That pathway will go along. There's a plan for this year construction for the rest of the Monte Vista that we'll pick it up at Monte Vista and go to Pocatello Creek. Then from there, we'll go from Pocatello Creek to the event center.
Yeah,
So
to
within the
Wellness
next
Complex.
year and a half, that connectivity all the way from South Valley. And then we are also within the next 3 years, with some of the grants we're working on, is getting the continuity that will pick up at South Valley Road and some sidewalk along Fifth and on the east side, and then from South Valley Road, no, that's on the east, from Samuel through to the, at least the trailer park and everything to South Valley Road.
Yeah.
There'll be a sidewalk to there for sure. And then from South Valley Road on the west side, as Becky was saying, there'll be a combination between, we're going to try for a multi-use path, shared path from there all the way out to Hildreth
Okay.
Road.
Way out
And
there,
then it'll
okay.
go down and around in Hildreth along the tracks and come back to Second.
Okay.
So that's being planned too. So the continuity that we have and tying in with pedestrians and stuff and bicycles, we are working on that.
Okay.
And that is some
How
of the.
this fits into that
A
overall
little bit
plan.
of the broader plan that you asked what's happening on Fifth.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for explaining that. I love a good plan. That's all I have.
Any other questions for staff? Before starting public testimony, I would like to remind each person, when you come to the podium, you must state your name. Please remember to address only the commission, not the audience or the applicant/representative. You have 3 minutes to testify and will be asked to stop when time runs out. Keep questions and comments pertinent to the application. Do not duplicate questions, concerns, or comments covered by previous testimony heard today. I'd like to invite anyone providing testimony in support of the application to come forward. I'd like to invite anyone providing testimony uncommitted to the application. I'd like to invite anyone providing testimony opposing the application. Okay, TJ, I'm supposed to invite you, if you would like, to rebut anything that was said, but probably not. Okay, with no further testimony or rebuttal, I declare the public hearing closed. How does the commission wish to proceed?
Go for it. You could do it. Just read that part.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application. Motions, do I read that?
Read the whole thing.
Yeah, read it all the way through.
Motion to recommend approval of the Aspen Place Planned Unit Development from David Hassan on behalf of Gate City Builders, finding the application does meet the standards for approval under Chapter 17.2.140 of Pocatello Municipal Code, with the conditions of approval, and to authorize the chair to sign the findings of fact and recommendation.
I second that.
I have a motion by Gomez and a second by Hewlett. Aislinn, will you call the vote?
Yes.
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 All right.
When you add those in there.
I figured that. Or have we made additional conditions?
Yes, we did. It's gonna happen.
Number 2, let's plat it up. Number 4, let's plat it up.
Yeah, it's the, all right. Sorry. Am I not, hey, I'm sorry, Aislinn, I'm not seeing the,
Is this a public hearing?
why I'm seeing the old one, yeah, planning and zoning. Can I borrow this for
Yeah,
a
of course.
second so we can get going?
It's all yours.
Okay,
We're looking for the right handout.
yeah,
Agenda 4's in.
UD.
here we go, got it. I'm ready, sorry.
There we go.
I'm new. David Hassan of Sunrise Engineering, on behalf of Gate City Builders, has submitted an application for a preliminary plat to be known as Aspen Grove subdivision. The property is located at 2806 South Fifth Avenue and consists of 4 parcels encompassing 5.56 acres with a total of 9 lots. The subject property is zoned RCP with a future land use map designated of mixed use. The request is to allow for lot, did I already do this? Okay. The request is to allow for lot size averaging to construct 8 multifamily structures on individual lots, with lot 9 proposed to be a common lot for stormwater retention, recreation area, and parking. I declare the public hearing open and would like to invite the applicant forward.
TJ Togiai with Sunrise Engineering. Yeah, we have the prelim plat now for the same property located off of Fifth Avenue. I said the property is 4 parcels encompassing 5.5 acres, and the plat will subdivide it into 9 lots. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We've been working with the Planning Department Public Works to meet the municipal code. We're seeking your approval. Thank you.
Great, thank you, TJ. We have any questions for the applicant?
I have a question. So, as I was bringing up, in the PUD, there is a request that the layout of this, that Lot 1 be relocated,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. Is that reflected in,
No, that's not reflected.
that's
in what's
not,
shown
okay,
there.
are you,
Yeah, so we still need to
you're still
work
okay
out.
with that?
Yeah.
So, I'm not seeing it listed in the conditions here either. So, I guess what I'm asking is if you would be okay with that being a condition.
Yeah.
as
no,
part of
we're
this.
still- We're still
Okay.
working through it.
Okay, thank you. That's the only question I have.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thanks, TJ.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll now have a presentation by staff.
Now they're over there looking. Where is it?
Again, Mr. Chair, Commission members, Matthew Lewis, Senior Planner with the city. Not going to add anything. We know where the project is and so forth. Would just like to, for the record, note that all property owners within 300-foot radius of property boundaries were informed of the public hearing. Notice was also published in the Idaho State Journal, and sign was posted on the subject property. Utilities and city staff are also informed, and no comments have been received to date. Staff finds that the application does meet the standards for approval under Chapter 1620.050 of Pocatello Municipal Code with the conditions as listed in the staff report. I would add that the memo that is within the PUD be added to the preliminary plat as a condition.
You would like us to add that as a
Yeah,
condition?
yeah, I think they got mixed up in there somewhere.
And that's for the road realignment?
Yeah, well, I would just add that whole memo.
The whole
The
thing?
whole memo.
The whole memo is a condition.
Yeah, because that
Is
covers
there-
all that.
Okay.
That wording got omitted for some reason too. Marjana's correct.
Great. So we'll want to make sure that whoever submits that
Okay.
makes a motion. Should
So
you
it's
make a
called the memo from the
Public Works memo.
The Public Works memo from the PUD. Got it.
Is included in that.
And then that would be that would be conditions, the stuff that is in there, their conditions. And I would like to, are you done with your presentation? Now answer fully the question that Commissioner Hewitt had asked. One of the reasons for swapping, one of the biggest reasons for swapping the house and with the pond or stormwater and snow area is when we do line that up across the garden and everything, we wanted to make sure that if there's a structure there, that's where all your cars are gonna be. And pulling in and out, backing in and out.
Sure.
So if we switch those two, you're not gonna have too many. That'll be excess parking, probably people aren't gonna be parking there. So you're not gonna have the congestion that you would have otherwise.
Because people backing out and
That's
stuff into
true.
their.
That's, so
Okay.
that's the biggest reason why swapping those two and making that work.
Can you show me on this? Where, so is it swapping the one that's up by the road up
This one
front there?
right here.
Okay,
This one right here.
Swapping
this
with that.
right here.
Okay.
With this over here, this one over here. When you look at the plat and the numbering, it's a little confusing on the preliminary plat. But that way, people will not be parking across right
Right
here
there where
as
somebody's pulling in.
often.
Okay.
As often as people's coming in. And I've made one mistake the whole time that I'm Merrill Coyle, the Public Works Engineer for the city of Pocatello. So, just for the record. and the
this is
people- and
the only
people-
mistake you've made in your
and
career.
the people
Yeah.
at home. I forgot to do that in the last one and this one, but I think that answers more
Yes.
fully the question that you were asking.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
No.
Okay. Aislinn, I just need to verify that there were there any additional written public comments submitted? Okay, great. With that, we will now hear public testimony. If there is any, I'd like to invite anyone providing testimony in support of the application to come forward. Anyone opposed to the application, or excuse me, anyone uncommitted to the application? And anyone opposed? Okay. TJ, would you like to say anything else? Okay. Well, with that, I declare the public hearing closed. How does the commission wish to proceed?
I would like to make a motion, but you have to be a little patient with me as I figure out how to say this. I move to recommend approval of the preliminary plat from David Hassan on behalf of Gate City Builders, finding the application does meet the standards for approval under Chapter 16.20.050 of Pocatello Municipal Code, with the conditions listed in the staff report and the additional conditions from the Public Works memo from the PUD for this site, included as conditions, and to authorize the chair to sign the findings of fact and decision. Yeah? Okay. Thank you. They're all nodding at me.
I second the motion. Mendoza.
Did you get all that written down, Aislinn? Let me know when you're
I'm
ready.
over here trying to write out.
I have a motion by Hewlett and a second by Mendoza. Aislinn, will you call the vote, please?
Yes.
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 Great. Okay. With that, we will now hear from staff. Staff finds that the proposed, we'll move on now to agenda item number 5. Staff finds that the proposed text amendments, first let me introduce the project. This is a city-initiated text amendment to Title 17 zoning regulations This is, the applicant is the city of Pocatello, and it will be presented by Jim Anglesey. Staff finds that the proposed text amendments meet the standards of City Code 17.02.170.f, as the amendments are in the community's best interest, consistent with the existing provisions of the zoning ordinance, and consistent with the existing provisions of the comprehensive plan. Staff recommends that the commission consider the proposed amendments to Title 17 zoning regulations and act to recommend approval with modifications, or denial of the proposed changes to city council. That will turn the time over to Jim.
Good evening, commission members and chair. Jim Anglesey, Long Range Planner for the city of Pocatello. Before you tonight is amendments to Title 17 zoning regulations. And within your packet, you'll have all of those proposed amendments. In my presentation, I will bring up the ones that I feel like are the biggest changes, but feel free if there are any questions within any of these proposed amendments to please ask those at the end of the presentation.
Jim, I'm sorry, I have to pause because I may have screwed this up. Was this a public hearing?
It is.
Okay, I'm sorry, I need to do this. I declared the public hearing open. Sorry, go ahead, Jim. My apologies.
No worries. So the first one that I'm going to bring up is in 1701-170A, administrative provisions. This adds language to clarify what our grandfathering status is on legal nonconforming properties. Currently, we utilize the year 1981 to determine if a property is grandfathered. We found that a lot of our records don't start until the 90s. And so it's really difficult to determine a property, say, for example, a residential home in a commercial zone. It's hard to determine if it's considered legal nonconforming because it's predates any of our records. So a 25-year sliding scale is what we're proposing, and that's saying anything that doesn't meet our current standards 25 years or older could be considered legal nonconforming or grandfathered. This will make it easier for us to keep track of what is legal and what is not within a 25-year time frame. A lot easier than 1981.
So, can I ask questions, Chair?
We'll
We'll let-
save your questions.
Okay.
We'll let staff finish.
Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is on this slide, the change use allowance for motor vehicle servicing and repair in the RCP zone, changing that from conditionally permitted in the CG zone to permitted to restricted, to reflect the note that I'll talk about as well. So in our use table, we're proposing a change in the RCP from conditionally permitted to restricted, as well as CG permitted to restricted. And this note is regarding car washes. And the note states that car washes are permitted only by conditional use permit in the commercial general zone, and car washes are not permitted in RCP.
Okay.
The next one is proposed change for the allowance of self-service storage in the CG and OP. So that's commercial general and office park zones. Be changed from conditionally permitted to not permitted. This would still allow storage units to be permitted in light industrial and industrial zones. The dimensional standards table in 1703-600, we are proposing changes to some of our minimum lot sizes in our zones as follows. Once I get to the page. Majority of those changes will be in our residential medium density multifamily zone and RH, or residential high density. For single families in RMM, we currently require 5,000 square foot minimum lot size. We are proposing that be reduced to 4,200. And for your information, 4,200 is the size of an original town site lot, 30 by 140. Majority of our RMM zone is in the original town site, and so we felt that it was appropriate to reduce it down to the lowest size in the town site historically. RMM and RH, we're proposing changing duplexes, reducing those. We're reducing townhomes in all zones that they're proposed, that they're permitted in. And then multifamily, reducing the lot size per unit in the RMM zone. Next. In 1704-220, the original town site overlay, we are proposing reducing parking requirements, or having parking requirement reductions for all use types in the original town site. This allows for the potential of a 30% reduction on required parking in our original town site, and allows, and we currently allow for 50% of the requirement to be on street. Next is the downtown development standards. So we're proposing that we allow multifamily to be permitted outright in our downtown zones, all zones, within the designated downtown area in accordance to the downtown development plan. These multifamily residential units would be required to meet development standards that would require them to be a minimum of 3 stories, developed with a flat or parapet roof, and be built with no external stairways or breezeways. And all setbacks shall meet the non-residential use standards to be consistent with the commercial development surrounding them. This also allows for townhome development in our downtown, provided that they are a minimum of 3 stories, developed with a flat or parapet roof. And this could be a single townhome or multiple townhomes. Next is our parking standards. We're proposing streamlining parking standards for residential use types, specifically single-family, duplex, and multifamily. Currently, our multifamily requirements are based off of bedroom amounts. And for example, a one bedroom or a studio would require 1 off-street parking stall. A 2-bedroom unit would require 1.5, and 3 or more would require 2. We're proposing that single-family and duplex be amended from requiring 2 to based off of bedroom, the amount of bedrooms in a unit. And then commercial development standards. This is where we will have development standards laid out for car washes that they're required to meet, as well as multifamily residential uses without a commercial component in commercial districts. So similar to what we see in the downtown that's permitted outright, these standards would apply to commercial zones outside of the downtown, and we would allow that by conditional use permit so long as they meet all these development standards. That is my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay, first question. So with the changes with the car washes, is there any place that car washes are then permitted outright? Or are they all, is it industrial, light industrial, or
Yep, car washes would be permitted in all industrial zones outright.
Okay,
They would still have to meet the development standards that we're proposing.
okay,
The language in there is all car washes, whether they're permitted outright or conditionally permitted. So
okay,
regardless, they still have to meet all the standards.
okay. My next question has to do with legal nonconforming.
Okay.
And that changed with the 25-year sliding scale. So when do questions about legal nonconforming come up? What is the practical impact of this? Can you help me understand that?
Yeah, a lot of times that calls into question homes that are within a commercial zone. A lot of times that's areas around the downtown that may be zoned commercial.
Okay,
For example, Maine and Arthur, there are several homes there that are zoned commercial, but they are residential homes.
okay,
For what reason they were zoned commercial, I don't know. But a lot of times when, say, somebody wants to purchase a home, a lot of times a mortgage company will ask if it's valid to do a mortgage on. That's a lot of times we get our questions from mortgage companies on those. And we have them go through a zoning determination request. We do the research.
so what are the questions that the banks are asking? They're asking, is this a commercial property or is this
Is
a
it
home?
a legitimate residential home?
Okay.
We see that it's zoned commercial.
Okay,
Is it a legitimate residential
okay,
use?
they're trying to verify, okay.
So when we get that question, we have to do research because it obviously doesn't comply with what we require. And so we have limited information if we're requiring the 1981
Okay.
standard. And this would allow for us to have more records to prove whether or not a use is legitimate or not.
Okay, so if it is, if we find that it is legally nonconforming, that it's a residential house, but it's in a commercial area, then the 25-year sliding scale just makes it easier for you to declare that? Or,
Yeah, and you could also consider the 25-year kind of like the statute of limitations. Somebody
Okay.
builds something illegal 80 years ago, it's not gonna have a negative effect on somebody now trying to purchase the building or purchase a home
Okay,
because it's then grandfathered. It precedes our zoning regulations,
Okay.
essentially.
okay. So you're saying that's beyond what, we're just going to say it's legally nonconforming because it was built beyond
Yeah.
25 years ago?
Now, if it's within 25 years, we should have records to say this
There's a
is a
variance or this
legitimate
was a-
residential use. This
Okay.
is a legitimate industrial use. It can continue to operate that way.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question that I have is regarding the tying how many bedrooms are in a building to the parking requirements. Is that commonly how that's done? Is that, I mean, that's a change from what we currently do. Is this in a stronger town kind of a basis? Is this how they do that, how they manage that?
This is one way to do it.
This is one way to do it, okay?
In the planning world, there's a big movement to just remove parking minimums.
Right,
This is one step closer to be a little more flexible.
okay,
But we do hope in the near future that we can reform our zoning ordinance to better reflect
getting rid of these mandatory minimums that are for parking that are causing such
or at
problems.
least assess what would be appropriate.
Okay.
But this is providing a little more flexibility instead of having over parking everything we need. Provides a little more flexibility. If you want a small home and it's going to be a 1-bedroom unit, why do you need a 2-car requirement?
Okay, that makes sense.
And so it provides a little more flexibility based off the size of your unit.
Okay, all right. And we are, though, looking towards reforming parking.
I don't know what it
Additional
will look
parking?
like, but that,
I know, we
yes,
don't know what
yeah.
it'll look like, but yes.
We intend that to come before you in the future.
Okay, all right. That's the only questions I had.
I've got a couple. I think they're questions about the new grandfathering policy, and I'll use some examples from things that we've been talking about in this. I don't expect you to know this, but in all of the new car washes we've had built recently, have any of them gone into RCP?
No. We do have a couple in RCP, but they're older, and they're usually attached to a gas station.
Okay. So I guess my question is like a car wash is not going to be repurposed. It's either going to be used as a car wash or it's going to be torn down.
Yeah.
So if that property that is in RCP, a car wash in RCP, trades hands through a sale, does that get grandfathered, or is that legal non-conforming? What happens with that car wash?
Yeah, as long as the use continues,
Yeah.
It's the same use, still used as a
it
car
would
wash.
still be permitted.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like pretty much all of this. There is one small group of people who we do some work for occasionally that I thought might be affected by this. So I'm just trying to clarify. The self-service storage units. I've seen a lot, or the projects that we've been involved in, an owner or a developer will buy a plot of land and will slowly over years add units, add buildings. I can think of a few that we did some site work on where he already had 10 buildings and he was adding 2 more kind of as they were cash flowing. So I'm wondering if we are going to, if we're going to change that to not permitted, does that prevent them, if they're in commercial general, does that prevent them from putting anything else on that land?
If that was approved previously, then they could still continue their, so, and I don't know the specific situations, but usually when you get a storage unit approved in CG, goes through a conditional use permit, and they have to abide by the conditions and the development that they said they're gonna build within the conditional use permit. And so say if they want to add units and it's not explicitly laid out in the conditional use permit, they would have to continue to go get additional CUP as it currently is. If they don't have additional units approved after this is passed, they wouldn't be able to add more units.
So that, Marjana will remember this. Well, sorry, maybe we'll wait for discussion. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you.
So are you thinking about that, the one that over off of McKinley?
Yes, hang on, I am thinking about that
Okay.
one. Let's do the public testimony portion and then we can have a discussion.
Okay.
Is there anyone here tonight who would like to provide testimony in support of the applicant? Anyone providing testimony uncommitted, the applicant? And anyone here tonight providing testimony opposing the applicant? Jim, do you have anything? Would you like to add a rebuttal to that? Okay.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah, please.
I forgot to mention.
Yep.
This public hearing was noticed properly, just
Okay.
for the record.
Great.
It met all municipal and state requirements.
Yeah, and I should probably, for the record, Aislinn, were there any additional written public comments or verbal public comments received for this application?
No.
Okay, thank you. With no further testimony or rebuttal, I declare the public hearing closed. How does the commission wish to proceed? We can provide a motion, or I would entertain a motion, or if there's discussion.
Let's discuss what you want to discuss before I.
Well, here's the one, and I'm not involved. I had mentioned that I was involved in some, and I have been, but not on this one. But that was originally the Wildwood storage units, which were on the corner of Roosevelt and Cedar or Pine. I can't remember now.
Cedar.
Cedar. And then
Yeah.
the next parcel came to us for a conditional use permit just to the north, which is now developed, and they want to continue developing.
Across the back of that along the railroad tracks?
Yeah, along the railroad tracks or canal or whatever is there. I only know that because I know the old gentleman who owns that, and he says, yeah, they're gonna buy that from me, I think, to put storage units on that. But that would that would effectively end that. At the same time, I do understand that the interior of Pocatello is running out of commercial ground, and I know investors love to put storage units up, and there probably is a better use of that ground, especially when the exterior of Pocatello has a lot of industrial ground. I'm thinking like the Northgate developments and the South Fifth corridor that would probably better serve that. So that,
Well, I always thought that that was a weird, that was even commercial, because it's the back parts of those lots, right? I mean, there's not really a way to access that.
yeah. But
So based on Jim's testimony, this would not allow that to continue.
yeah, there's one other, and it's hard to say without seeing how those projects were platted, or as Jim mentioned, what their conditional use permits. But there's a big one on South Second that we have done work on, and I won't mention specifics there, but I know he's got a lot of ground, and I'm thinking that's probably industrial, so it's a moot point, but I'm just trying to consider anybody else, and I don't know all the storage units in town. I'm just trying to consider anyone else who bought 20 acres or 10 acres or 5 acres or whatever for storage units that's in commercial general, that this will essentially shut down their operation as far as expansion, and then what will we use that ground for? I guess we can use it for anything that's commercial general, but it'll make that ground hard if half of it is already used, it'll be hard to use if half of it's already, if you've got a bunch of storage units, it prevents you from getting to the back half of that ground. So I just want to be cognizant of that. And I don't know if there's an amendment or a condition that we can put on that would allow people who are already there to continue to develop those parcels, but I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to parse that out or not.
Question.
Yeah, please.
Not permitted is a hard and fast stop. There cannot be a conditional use permit authorized on a not permitted site for a specific use.
Yeah, my understanding, and Jim can correct me if I'm wrong, but currently they're not permitted. Well, I shouldn't say they're not permitted, but I guess they're not permitted, for lack of a better term, in commercial general. You can receive a conditional use permit. That was what we granted to the
Yes,
Wildwood
yep.
storage units, was a conditional use
And
permit.
it allowed us to go into kind of nuance some things.
Yeah, and it allowed
with
him
it
to
at
continue
additional
developing.
trees or things where it bumped up against.
But could we not have, this passes, could we, if he wanted to develop that acreage that you're talking about that he might,
Yeah,
could he not come back to the commission?
that's what
and-
it sounds like
and
to me.
ask-
Correct, Jim? Is it?
He couldn't have a conditional use permit.
Yeah, not permitted is hard and fast. The use table will lay out if it is conditionally permitted with a C. And if that C is there, they can apply for a conditional use permit.
Sounds like in this case it wouldn't be. So
Is there, does the commission have an opinion on kind of creating or cutting out a separate condition to it that says, hey, if you already are operating in this area and there are adjacent properties that you could purchase, that you could continue your same development, but that would be, another person could not come in and buy the development and continue.
That gets really weird for staff to track.
Sure.
well, but I think what Ben is saying is, could we create a
I do, I
condition-
understand that, yeah.
Could we create a condition? Now, just to be very clear, I don't think we should allow someone to purchase a property and start developing. I'm just saying if they own a property, it's halfway developed.
Adjacent.
Yeah, or not even adjacent. It's just if they have 5 acres and they've developed 2 acres. And I know that it was probably misleading because I did use the
You did
example
use
of
the
someone,
example,
so I
yeah,
apologize.
No worries.
But my guy out on South Second that I know of, who again I think is industrial, so this is maybe not pertinent, but I know he has got probably at least 10 more acres to continue developing. And this would shut him down from being able to do that. And now that he's got so many storage units on that, it's probably not, like that 10 acres is not really feasibly going to be used for anything else. You'd have to go through a maze of storage units to get to something else.
Whatever
back
it is.
there. Yeah.
But it's
You'd-
industrial anyway, so it wouldn't.
I don't know that. I don't have the zoning map in front of me, and it probably is. Most stuff out that way is. So
I just know, I mean,
Can we cut this out of his recommendations and
we can.
table the
But-
discussion for more, for future
yeah,
to?
we can. We don't want to table things
We
as
don't wanna
much as we
table
can.
things. And I am concerned about, I mean, I understand the reason for this. We are short on commercial general land. We just are.
Yep.
And we do not have enough for the businesses that want to develop here. Everybody talks about it being hard to put in commercial general. It's not, it more is tied to what land we have available as commercial general. We're short on it. Okay? And if we can take this, which isn't really it is being used for a business purpose, but it's not like they need storefront property for people to drive up and I want to drop something off to store for the afternoon. I mean, really is geared more toward industrial, where it's a little more, it doesn't need to be in the highest, anyway, it doesn't need to be in the highest producing land that we have in the city. So I'm actually okay with this. If it was, I mean, I would think that if he already had the property and had permission to build storage units there, even if they haven't already been built out, it should be allowed to continue building those there. If he already owns the property and he's already got a conditional use permit in place for that, it would be buying additional properties that this prevents against. So it would stop the guy on McKinley that wants to purchase additional backyards
Yeah.
all along there. So, anyway, I don't want to put staff in the position where they're having to track which ones do and which ones don't. And Brenda's same problem you're getting with the 25-year sliding scale. I mean, that's why they shifted that, because trying to track down what was and what wasn't and when it went through
And
can be
in the course
problematic.
of normal business, this commission will offend
Sure. It's part of the
people and
job.
businesses. It's part of the job,
Yep.
and city development will also. So it was duly noted. The public was notified.
Mm-hmm.
The business owners who own those businesses that could be affected by this decision had the opportunity.
They're
And
not here.
They're not here.
Yep. So I would like to make a motion, if the chair will entertain that.
Absolutely.
I move to recommend approval of the proposed amendments to Title 17 zoning regulations, finding the amendments are in compliance with the comprehensive plan and the criteria listed in Section 17.02.170 of the Pocatello City Code, and to authorize the chair to sign the findings of fact.
I second the motion.
We have a motion by Hewlett and a second by Mendoza. Aislinn, will you please call the vote?
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Gomez,
Yes.
Phillips,
No.
and Valadolo.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
And that will bring our meeting to a close. Thank
There
you
we
for
go.
coming tonight.